All right. Hi there. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to the For Animals for Earth podcast. We are in season 2. I can't believe it. Episode number 13. And if you're watching this, you know that we are actually doing them live for the first time today. So, whew, I am super excited about that. And I'm super excited about our guests for today. So Ada and Nathan are dialing in from Wenatchee, Washington. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Central Washington.
Yes.
Which sounds just incredibly beautiful. And I know that usually out your back window there, it is incredibly beautiful. How are the fires now?
They're pretty under control now in our area. So it's blue skies out there and it's very beautiful today. Yeah, we live in a beautiful valley in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It really is. Yeah, we're finally getting some clear air back here as well, which has been really nice. It's been a little smoky around here too, but yeah. So prayers for everybody who's been going through fires for sure. Yes. So Ada and Nathan their business is called Wakes, and Wakes is basically Ada and Nathan are constantly creating experiences like retreats and immersive sound meditations, things like that, to help people awaken really into their selves, into a more meaningful, grounded life. And you mostly do that through music, I think. Also, you say you do it through meditation and through movement. And I first found you guys back in March when the pandemic first started in the United States. And the two of you put together these Facebook Live online immersive sound baths for anyone who wanted to join. And it was this really incredible, what I found unique way of bringing people from every corner of this country, actually the world, together to process all of those strong feelings and emotions that were really stirring for all of us back then. And I mean, honestly, still now, right? But in March and April, it was just such a shocking time for all of us.
Yeah.
And so you all put together that series, and it was just something that I found to be extremely, I said unique earlier, but also just profoundly internally in me. I had such a surprising experience, very different than what I had expected when I first dialed in to listen. Yeah. And so, I've been following you for a while and joining in other sound baths. And I think we talked on Instagram Live in maybe July.
Yeah.
And when we talked, I said, I want to talk to you more, and I want to dig more into what you're doing. And so we decided to do this podcast episode, and, I'm really excited that you're here.
We're so glad to be here.
Yeah. It's, and I really feel like the timing is divine. I most of the time feel like divine timing is kind of just the way the world runs. But I was telling Ada, we were texting yesterday, and I said I had an interesting experience this weekend. I discovered a new tool. It's not necessarily new, but I do want to share it because I don't know if it's new to the world, but it's new to me. It's called Documentary Heaven. And it's a website with hundreds of documentaries that you can watch on all different topics that are free. So I discovered this about a week ago, and I've been watching documentaries. And I, on Saturday, got into a little bit of binge watching documentaries on Saturday evening.
Nom, 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 nom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm not sure that's good for anyone's health, but I watched one called Planet of the Humans. It's Michael Moore and Jeff Gibbs. Have you guys seen this?
Yeah, we did. We watched that.
Okay, so the closing scene of that movie just kind of like whoosh, just kind of like wiped me, and I thought, I felt so drained and just sad, and felt like, I'm not doing anywhere near enough yet. I don't know what else to do. And for those of you that haven't seen the documentary, I definitely recommend going to watch it. I feel like it was really enlightening as to just kind of what's going on with fossil fuels and alternative energy and just our lifestyle here on Earth, especially in the United States. It was sobering. It was sobering. That's a really good word. And so, I came out of it Saturday night, Sunday, just feeling like, I'm not doing enough, but I don't know what to do. And, this dark future, just that kind of feeling that comes with that. And then I realized, we've got our conversation on Tuesday. And I was really excited for this conversation because I feel like when I'm around the two of you, when I listen to your music, there's just a strength that comes from turning within and from the messages that the two of you are constantly sharing about finding, I guess, your own inner guidance for emotional and mental and physical well-being, and how music can really facilitate that process of connecting within ourselves better.
Yeah.
And, I often hear the two of you say music is medicine. And so I thought maybe we could start out by digging into that a little bit more. When you say music is medicine, what do you mean?
I think the first thing I think of is just how fundamental music is in our experience as humans. I think, and we've all seen the infant kind of like bouncing to a tune. We often say that it's our first language. Yeah. I think before we even start speaking, you hear a toddler and they are mimicking the notes and the vocal intonation of the adults, and they can have a whole conversation with tons of meaning and nuance, and yet have none of the words. So the language part of the mind hasn't even begun to connect the sounds with the symbols, but the emotional side of what types of things are being conveyed, what feelings are being conveyed, what energy is being communicated, I think happens way before. And it's not something we even really hardly need to be taught. We just kind of pick it up. And so when we talk about music being medicine, I think that's the first point, is that it's something that is ubiquitous across cultures, across history. And is undeniable in the way that it impacts us, because I think we all know that feeling of, you can hear just like one violin line and it can bring this well of emotion, and maybe even a tear or two if you're really listening, if you're really present with the sound.
Or the goosebumps.
Exactly. So it has this way of speaking directly to our emotions. We might even say that it's the language of emotion. What would a movie be without the soundtrack in the background to help convey either suspense and danger, or sadness and longing, or even more subtle. We used to do video work, so this is like a huge part of our work, music. But even more subtle emotions like reminiscing or excitement. There's so many different things that you can bring about with music. So I think and then there's another component, maybe the third component, I think I'm on 3, is that it has this incredible ability to bring us into the present moment, right? Because it's a sense experience. In order to engage with music, you have to just take it in with your ears, right, in that moment. And so it brings us in, out of the buzzing mind, out of all the thoughts that we have, and it lets us just settle in to right here to soak up what is happening, which almost all of our anxiety, almost all of our depression comes from dwelling in the past and our ideas of how things should have gone, looking forward and getting all worried about and bent out of shape about the future. And so when we can just come to the present moment, that's when there can be a shift in the way that we are experiencing life, to just be receiving, right? And without the fear that comes with all of the managing of things and time and responsibilities.
Yeah, I think it's also worth noting, just to build on what Nathan's saying there, in the sense of like likening music to medicine, is that it does have a physiological response on us and in us. And so we see that from the way that there are brain scans that show what areas of the brain light up, how those connections are made. I mean, there are amazing studies from the way that it impacts Alzheimer's patients and accesses aspects of their memory that they couldn't otherwise tap into. People with autism, in the way that it helps regulate our nervous systems and help us to come from a state of distress and stress to more calm, that rest and digest state that we talk about. There's, studies with Parkinson's where it helps someone literally steady themselves where they couldn't walk before, to be able to find a walking pattern, a gait. It's so fortifying. It's like, I don't know, there's so many metaphors from this aspect of an immune system response in the way that it can help us find out what's going on inside and to calm ourselves so that we can go into a healing state. We can be in that receiving state. And then it's also like a medicine psychologically, emotionally, just like we would take an antidepressant or something like that. Music, I think this statistic is so wonderful, but it takes 9 minutes of listening to music for us to feel happier. And it takes 13 minutes for us to release sadness. And that's just, a bit of a marker from studies that have been done with some hundreds of people, but it's still so fascinating to see that there is a specific effect that happens and it really impacts us mentally and emotionally. We can use that as a holistic medicine in our lives rather than going to cope with alcohol or drugs or whatever else that might have its place. But when we choose to cope with it and not treat our symptoms with these things that really don't actually acknowledge what's actually happening, when we numb and we distract ourselves, we avoid the potential to have a breakthrough or a healing moment or a realization physically, mentally, or emotionally. So I think that that's the power of music, is that it can help us know and sense what's going on within us and to release that, to move it. We always talk about that in our events, right? This is a process that's going to help you move the stress, the tension, the anxiety, and come back to the fullness of who you are.
I love the way that you both are describing music in such a physically, holistically penetrating way. I personally, didn't really think a whole lot about music, I don't think, before joining one of your experiences. It just kind of, I certainly would turn on music to calm myself, or when I need to work and it's just like, whoa, I need my brain to focus, music helps. And I think most of us all recognize that. But the way you're describing it as kind of vibrating in on this physical level and kind of moving that energy and allowing us to find what's going on and sort through it is just such a powerful message. And having experienced it myself, I know that what you do has that effect. So I wonder if you'll talk a little bit about, what you do with your music and how you set that up to specifically help people go through this physical experience of digging in and moving that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just like we were saying, we laid so much of the groundwork in what we just were talking about before this. It's coming to the present moment, giving people space and permission to do nothing but listen. And this is just a basic foundational concept of mindfulness. Is just coming to the present. And I think for many people, we struggle with mindfulness practices, with meditation, because it is difficult. When we slow down, all of a sudden our brains kick up, right? All the distractions that we have about things that we're doing with our hands, little projects that we have.
notice it.
Yeah. All of a sudden it's the only thing there to really pay attention to, or it feels that way. And it just can overwhelm us with the amount of narratives that it can come up with, the amount of worries, the amount of little stories and regrets and pain. And not to mention the stuff in our bodies also. All this sense information just comes flowing in. If you have pain somewhere in your body, that can all of a sudden become the core focus. But what music does, not that other kinds of mindfulness aren't helpful, they absolutely are, but what music can do is help fill that gap. It can give you another focus that can kind of inspire a different perspective of introspection within yourself. So we can offer words, we can offer melodies, we can offer tones and textures and feelings and different frequencies that all have really subtle but complex meanings within us. And they
resonates.
They strike these little chords within us, that resonate. And with that, we get to kind of explore or scan the depths of who we are. You can almost think of it kind of like sonar or like radar, where there's these little blips of sound that go out, and that's what we're offering. And it can go deep inside of you, and it comes back with an image or with new information that we didn't know was there before. And so someone experiencing music might feel this overwhelming sense of sadness. And not only do they get the chance to express that sadness and to sit with it and to be present with it and to hopefully release it in a way that it was pent up and blocked up before and causing other discomfort and dis-ease in the body. But it can also give us the opportunity then to bring more attention and understanding after that. Maybe we can journal. Maybe we can talk about it to a friend. And with a deepening of understanding of where that emotion came from, of what were the conditions, the life circumstances that brought about that sense of sadness within us, or that feeling of anger, or whatever it was that came up, we can then deepen our understanding of what it is that we experienced. And with that deepening of understanding, we gain the power of compassion for ourselves, to say, I understand now. I see you, self. Just the same as we can when we have a friend and we know that they're in a hard time and then they lash out at you. If you know that they're having a hard time, you're going to be so much more gracious with that moment of tension that they bring to your relationship. We can do that same thing with ourselves.
Yeah, there's this wide range of frequencies that we are playing with and these sort of motifs and archetypes of human experience. And so what we're doing on our end, and this is the same with our, we have two styles of music, meditative mindfulness music. We go by Nada Wakes for that, and She Wakes is our folk music. And normal folk music also elicits this kind of response out of us. It's not just meditative music. There's this range of frequency, like I was saying, story, that helps us tap in to ourselves, that has that ability to flow into us. Just like, I love the sonar metaphor, because just like in the ocean, we're like, there's a whale, I see the whale, and now it's coming back. We have this image, and it might not be crystal clear, we're sensing, it's a sensing tool. And so that can help us bring so much insight. It can elicit out of us what's really going on, what needs healing. It can bring awareness. And so we're using different instruments, different tones, different frequencies, and we're exploring human experience so that, Brandy, in you, it can resonate what it does for you. And you're going to have a totally different experience than someone else with their life stories and experiences and ailments, and how that's going to resonate is going to be different. And so the medicine is extremely personal.
I love that. And I feel like extremely personal is what actually works, right? Because that means that our body is able to take that in and use it in the best way possible for us. And so, playing on your concept of medicine, I feel like that it even solidifies it even stronger of like what a powerful tool it can be. For people who are intrigued, that's the word I'm looking for, intrigued by everything that you're saying, do you have a simple idea for them to be able to kind of dip their toe in and try to experience this physical reaction to music that you're describing?
Yes. I think the easiest, most simple thing that you could do is to notice the music of nature, the music of life that we are a part of, and to be in that. So you can step outside, close your eyes, take a deep breath, notice the bird song that you might not normally hear, notice the sound of the wind in the trees, notice the sounds of cars or of life or your neighbor, and just try to broaden your awareness to experience the orchestra that's happening around us. And that's a really easy way to come back into the moment and to use this process of listening, of deepening our listening and deepening our witnessing of what's happening within us as we're listening without. So there's this within-without interaction happening. And if you want to have a more tailored musical experience, then on our website, you could come and we created a morning musical meditation that's guided, and it really draws on a song that we've created that has that healing intention with it. So either or, but remember that there's music happening around all the time, and we can always just tune into that, attune ourselves, excuse me, microphone, to attune ourselves to that song that's happening around us. Do you have anything to add?
I think it's an experience that we can do like you were saying, when you're at work and you're feeling tense and you put on some music to help relax. I think it's intuitive. We're already doing this stuff, and the power comes when we take responsibility for what we're feeling, and we feel empowered to do something about it. To step into that process of inquiry. To say, what is it that I'm feeling? How is it? Where is it? Where is that feeling in my body? What could I do about it? Where is that coming from? Because we are really complex beings. We are constantly taking in incredible amounts of data that we're not even aware of. Half of it, it's going around. Our senses are getting it, but we don't always consciously take in every little thing that goes on throughout the day. And even if we are conscious of it, sometimes we consciously don't have time to deal with it. And so we kind of push it down, and we go, okay, well, I'm not going to deal with that right now. That's going to go deep in the wells of who I am for a little bit. And so we need these times to be able to go into those places where we've packed stuff that we didn't have time to deal with, experiences that we maybe weren't aware were happening, and just let them release a little bit to undo the knots that get tangled up inside of us, so that we can be more free to express the truth of who we are, so that we can let more peace, more love, more wisdom to well up from within us, because that stuff is infinite. We have love doesn't have an end, joy doesn't have an end, peace doesn't have an end, but it does have an expression in our lives. And what we need to have that express in our lives is that stuff out of the way, so that we can let it come and express and manifest through us.
And I think the key point of one simple thing that you do is that you truly listen. You bring your full attention. So whether that's outside with the birds and the wind and the sounds, whether it's with your favorite song that you love, it's not just putting it on and having it there. It's really listening to that favorite song. If it's music that we're crafting with this intention, then it's really allowing yourself the space to pause and take that in fully, to resonate with that, because it's very different when you bring your full self and attention, your full capacity of deep listening, versus just gonna put this on. It's
in the background.
Like it's a very different effect, and you will feel the difference.
I love that. And I love how it's going to bring you into the present moment. And I was picturing, as you were describing, being just present of where you are at any given point. You might be walking down the street and all these sounds are an orchestra, is what you called it, of sorts. And I felt too, even there's like a physical, like the vibrations are something that we can feel, even if we're not, hearing it. You can kind of tune in and feel those vibrations. And in your music, and actually I'll add it here in a second to this little ticker symbol on here, is a place that people can listen to your music on your website. But in your music, you do play so many different instruments. Maybe you can say how many. And you mentioned it earlier. I don't know if the correct word is tones, but there's so many different vibrations that come off of your voices, your music, and it creates this experience that you don't only hear through your ears, but you feel it through your body.
Yes, you feel it in your physical body and in your emotional body. That's what's so cool about it. It's like weaving this tapestry of sound that you wrap yourself up in, and you feel what it feels like to be in that embrace.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. I think there's a whole, our name when we play music that's meditative is Nada Wakes, and Nada is actually a form of yoga. Well, it's our names, Nathan and Nada combined, and that's how our friends joked that we were trying to come up with a band name. You guys should be Nada. Yeah, that's cute. We kind of rolled our eyes and laughed it off, and then later we were doing a little more research because we were at our wits' end of what we were going to call ourselves. And we come to find that there's this whole practice of yoga, of Nada yoga in the ancient Indian tradition, that where there's an entire metaphysical system wherein everything is vibration. And what are we learning about matter through quantum physics is that that's pretty much true. I mean, at a basic level,
all particles are vibrating.
The very substance of that we interact with every day, of ourselves, of the things around us, of the people we love, is only there because of motion, because of energy, because of waves of movement. And so we can kind of think about music, if we expand these metaphors out, as being the foundations of all experience, of who we are, of how we are. And so, I mean, that's kind of getting big and metaphysical, but it is fun to think about these things and to see how ubiquitous the nature of vibration and of tones is. Even if we can't, like you were saying, even if we can't hear it with our ears, we can feel it in our bodies. And I think that happens, if you want to go there, on an energetic level too. There's so much information that we're taking in the form of vibrations from other people, from the earth around us, from everything.
And that's actually where, when I think about your audience, people that are passionate about animals, the earth, really feel deeply the distress that is coming from the way that we're living and inhabiting our lives on this planet, the way we affect each other. Yes. We have to be able to come back to our center, to our ground, in order to not be fully unmoored. In order to harness our own power, that we have to do something in our own way. And so I think that this is a very powerful modality for people to refill their cup, to calm their nervous system down when it's freaking out, because we have news day after day that is so hard to take, or we watch a documentary like that one that brings up so much of our compassion, but so much of our despair. So much of our despair. And we can't move through that despair, just like we can't move through grief in our lives, if we do not feel it, if we do not allow ourselves to be with it, then we can't move through it. And so this is a way to gently let ourselves be with the tension of the pain that is present in our lives, in our bodies, in our society, in our world, and then also to regain a sense of empowerment to do something and to be who we are, to play our role, to play our part, to be that violin in the orchestra of life. I mean, we're super into the metaphors, but you know what I mean? It's true. It's very, very true. And what you do for Animals for Earth is going to be different than what I'm going to do. But we are trying to find and cultivate that sense of harmony when we feel discord, when we feel a lack of harmony or dissonance in life. And so I think that that's a really exciting place to play in when it comes to helping ourselves be fortified and resilient in the face of such huge challenges that we have in the world.
Right. And the challenges are so huge right now. And sometimes it feels like they're only going to get bigger. But, you know, what I love is how you said music is a gentle way to ease into feeling all those hard emotions and allowing them to actually move through us instead of just pushing them down, pushing them out, like, clenching, just trying to get through it. That idea of allowing the music to facilitate the process of feeling them. And the picture it brings to my mind is just, you know, the tears and the emotion that comes up when listening to your music. And it's a physical way to kind of release some of that. And then I love what Nathan said, which is something that I've found really helps me in my life, talking to other people about it once it comes up. And there's something in that subtle energy, I think I'm going to say the wrong word, but dissipants, or like, I don't even know that that's a word, but I get it.
How it dissipates out into the ether.
It's like leaving you and it's dissipating out, and your friends are there to help hold you up. And, you know, like you said, continuing to do work where you're constantly putting yourself in a situation where you're seeing animals suffer, you're seeing the earth deteriorate. It's so hard to process and keep going. Yet at the same time, we need every single person who is doing that to keep doing it, because that's how we're making it better, by all of us coming together and doing the little things that we can each do in our lives, you know, to make it better. So there's clearly room for music to be a stronger tool in helping people find that interconnectedness and that groundedness to be able to go out and live their mission and bring to the world what they should. Where else do you see in kind of the current space of life that we live in? Where else, or even deeper into this, do you see opportunities for music to play a healing role in our world?
You know, immediately it makes me think about the history of music across human culture. We are kind of in this little mini experiment over the last 100 years or so, where our access to music has skyrocketed, and the roles that music plays in our individual lives has changed radically. I mean, it used to be that in your little circle of people, whether it was a tribe or a community, you would have those that were very talented, and if you wanted music, you would go to them for it, or if you wanted it, you just would join in. And there was a lot more ceremonies. There was a lot more gatherings. There was a lot more coming together around music. And that's the foundation. This is where we developed or evolved this capacity for this incredible tool in our lives, was from hundreds of thousands of years of this practice.
Therapeutic in its way that it brings us together and connects us.
And what's important about that is not to like shame the way that we listen to music now, but in our access and in the outsourcing of music to those that are really, really good, right? You know, like, oh, I don't sing, I'm not a singer, is what most people would say. But you have a voice, you can sing. And if you lived 100 years ago, you might have been singing in the circle when everyone would sing, because that was the way that you experienced music. That was the way you did it. So I think what I'm getting at is that there's a connection point and an intentionality around the way that we listen that we've lost, but we know how to do that. And rather than just like putting on the Pandora mix in your headphones and letting it choose what you're going to listen to, or just like having what the radio on in the car, we can be more intentional about the ways that we listen. And we can also, just like we have for hundreds of thousands of years as humans, gather around music more intentionally. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to create spaces where we can all gather around the campfire, so to speak, the proverbial campfire, to tune in and to connect and to go that step further and to have it be an intentional place where we are doing the work of letting it move things inside of us, letting it be a ceremony for ourselves to heal, and then being a support for one another as we do that. And so I think number one, just taking moments where you sit and listen, like Ada said, that could be to nature, or it could be to a song that someone has created for the purpose of healing, or it could be to just one of your favorite tunes that touches you in a way that you want to experience in that moment, to explore where you're at.
I think it's a therapeutic tool that so many more of us could use, especially I think about this time with all the uncertainty and the fear and the conflict that's happening. This is something that we can use. Maybe you're not comfortable to go to a therapist, but this is another way that you can access all of that stuff that's going on within you so that we can be healthier in our mind, bodies, and spirits. And when you ask about application, I mean, I can conceive of so many ways that we could apply this power in different spaces of our lives. Like, I think about how many kids these days freak out about tests and have their identity sourced in how they perform in school, and the anxiety, suicide rates. Things are very much on the rise for children with the pressures that they feel, and also the social dynamics at play. Like, could you imagine if this was a practice in schools that before every test, they put on a certain song, and it was part of just the way before you would take a test. I'm coming up with this now, but every child would just kind of like have a moment to check in with themselves and notice how they're feeling and create some spaciousness within themselves before they took a test or before you went into surgery. Like, what if that was, as your anesthesia is like being administered, you had music as a way to help calm you, to help ground you, and to put your fear aside, because we know that when people are more calm and in less of a fear state, they heal better. Their outcomes are better. So I think that there are so many ways. There are creative ways. We have a friend that designed musical experiences inside of this very luxury hotel. And it was intentionally about creating an experience for people that they maybe wouldn't even notice, but that would bring them a different sense of space externally and internally. He composed this incredible experience. And so I think that there are ways that we don't even know yet how we could apply this. And it's I don't know, just as the medicine is sometimes in unexpected places, and it doesn't need to come in a pill that we get prescribed. We can prescribe this for ourselves and for our loved ones and for our communities as a place to source healing for ourselves.
Oh, I love that so much. If I'm thinking connection and giving people a place to go. I feel like you're a really good first spot. So what's the easiest way for people to get in touch with the two of you?
Yes. Go to our website, Wakes.Life. So not .com, but .life. That's our website. There you can get the free meditation that we have there. And then also you'll be on our mailing list. And through that, we have quite a few things coming up that we just feel could be a support to people. An election sanity saver sound bath, because we have been feeling very stressed out by the election process and feel like people could use that space. We have a grateful gathering retreat that we're going to host online in November around Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving, to really come into that spirit of the season. And we have a lot of other things planned, and we're cooking up some sort of structure for people to be able to gather and use this intentional space of listening through either a membership or something that we're putting together at the moment. Yeah. But we're still figuring out what that looks like and how that is. But
give it the time to come together. Yes. I mean, I think what you're describing, and at least the pictures that it's creating in my head of these beautiful gatherings around music. You said the word Thanksgiving, and you can just picture like a gathering of people around music and around feeling this experience. And, the opportunities that you both brought up just off the top of your head of ways that music could be used more in the world than it's used right now are just, they feel so simple. And I really do think they would make a huge difference. And just that idea of people coming together around music, and then also of us turning to music ourselves internally when we're really struggling, and doing that in a mindful, purposeful way. I love what you're describing. I love what you do. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with me more in depth and sharing your message, honestly, for everyone who listens to this. I just think that this is such a powerful tool that we can all use. And, we didn't even get into it, but the studies that are out there about how it helps animals and the connections we could be doing if we're mindfully listening to music with our pets or with other animals that we help at a rescue. There's so much. There's so much.
Yeah. And if you do the little zoom out, Brandy, you can show people some of the instruments. That would be fun before we go.
That's a great idea.
Or if anyone has any questions, so you can see, we have some amazing stories around these instruments too, but this is an incredible artisanal gong that's we got in Poland.
Trying to get you guys. Sorry. I was going to try to see if I could get just you guys on here, but I'm not having any luck. So, okay, keep going. Keep going.
Here it is. The gong.
The gong. This is a British instrument that got adopted in India. It's called a harmonium. It's a pump organ. This is a Japanese bamboo shakuhachi flute, guitar, amazing, used throughout the world. We have different drums and different bowls that resonate sound. Often those are used in certain cultures for prayer. But modern age, coming out of oddly enough, computer technology, these crystal bowls were created, and people realized how powerful their tone is. It almost mimics the human voice. So they usually make people just go melt. And lots of different other instruments, drums and metal drums, different things that, as we spoke to, just create different sounds and feelings.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
So many toys to play with.
It is. And it's so much fun just to hear those sounds, like the gong and the bowls, just how that reverberates and just fades so slowly out. And like you said, you just melt to it. I mean, it just has such an impact on our bodies.
Yeah. And the meditation, I think about it like a rippling out. Like I think about if we are a frequency, if we are a tone, and just like if you're really paying attention in a meditation, this is rippling out. This is making sound so much longer than you think. Usually we check out, but if you keep listening, you're like, oh, it's still there. I can still hear it. I can still hear it. I can still hear it. And I think about the way that we in our lives take action. We do the things that we're passionate about. We try to make a difference. And sometimes we maybe stop hearing it, but it is continuing. The impact that we have, the ripples that we can make, the vibrations that we emit, it's just like this. If you pay attention, you'll notice, wow, this really keeps going. And so it's going to hit something else and it's going to vibrate. There's sympathetic sounds that happen. Sometimes we'll hit something and another instrument over there will vibrate and make a sound. So I think about that in the way that we do our activism, the way that we live our lives, and we can be inspired by that when we use our voice, when we emit the frequencies we emit. We are going to make a difference. We are going to impact others and resonate in them. And that is the chorus that we make.
That's
okay,
such
get off my box.
Oh, I love it. It's such an inspiring statement to make. I love it. I love that statement. I was just thinking, I wonder if you can send us out with one little simple sound that will just reverberate out, whether it be the gong or one of the bowls, what you just did, but we can say goodbye and then just let that sound go. And I think that'll be fun for anyone who listens to this now or later.
Definitely. We're really grateful that you brought us on and for the work that you're doing and for the work that your community is a part of. We are at your back if you need support as you're going through the things that you're going through to do your work in the world. Please know that we're here for you. We want to be a part of that awakening that's possible within each of us and within the world. We are all a part of that awakening. And take care of yourself. Top up, tune in. Like these are the messages that we really want to leave with your community. Take the time to listen and process, because if we don't, we turn into, we can't continue to do the work that so needs to be done.
The work that we're here to do.
Yeah. You need
Yes. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll phase out with some sound.
Awesome.
We can just take a moment to pause and to breathe in. You might close your eyes, just removing a sense to tune in to your sense of hearing. And the breath always can take us deeper, just like the music can, into the present moment. Just like waves at the seashore, flowing in and out. Just letting the vibrations enter you as they will. Noticing the tones. The different frequencies. Where you feel it in your body. And like Anna said, just letting those sounds ripple out.